That's better. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Munden. I'm the head of Bloomberg's Investment Research Department for Asia. That's Bloomberg Intelligence. So we've got here 3 people so far. We may have 5 by the end, to talk about innovation and venture for good. We've got limited time, so I think I really want to crack on. So I'll just quickly introduce the panelists and go straight to the first question. So we have here Seth Huaben, who is the head of business development at the One Valley. Ilgi Duran, who's strategic growth and global partnerships advisor. And we have Andreas Grape, who's the founder and CEO of Nordic Angels. And I believe you've got something else coming as well today. So let's go straight to the first question. Can you explain what your business goals are and your mission that support innovation and venture for good? Start with you, Andreas.
Thank you so much. We call Nordic Angels. I'm the co-founder and CEO together with Ashpur, who's a very strong influencer in the Nordics and in the world, actually. We said that capital is something that, there's a lot of capital in Europe. We saw a lack of coordination, and Europe is we need to collaborate more, in terms of getting the capital to work together. So we are now the largest investor network in the Nordics. We just founded Davos Angels.
Did we ruin the surprise now? We were going to make the announcement.
Yeah. And of course, European Angels. So we built platforms and to actually serve an underserved group that is crucial for our economy. So we're the largest investor network in the Nordics. And we're aiming for actually combining all capital in Europe to be more competitive in a global world.
Thank you. Ilgi, same question to you.
Yes, so I work a lot with local governments, startup hubs, and VCs or accelerators like we have in the Nordics. And my main mission is to provide, especially tech startups, resources, access to capital, and the network. And that's why Nordic Angels, of course, is a fantastic example, how we bring together that know-how, that network effect, that trust, and that capital in the Nordics. And now we cannot wait to scale it even further. But I also collaborate a lot with NGOs and global organizations like UN Women. And it is also my personal mission to support more women founders in tech. So we are designing now new women entrepreneurship programs focusing on Central Asia, so that we can take these, we can help them with reskill themselves when it comes to tech, and we can help them to get the right access to business resources. So, which is something that I'm very passionate about. So.
Thank you.
I guess it was short story long. Okay, over to you.
Wonderful. It is a pleasure to be with everyone and to support the Abraham House and the mission and vision, and so just tremendously honored to be here. One Valley is a global entrepreneurial support organization, big mission and vision of helping democratize access to the resources and mindset of Silicon Valley and bringing them to the world. The way we do that is through investing and supporting startups, as well as supporting the ecosystems that support communities of startups. And so we have a venture capital fund where we deploy towards early stage technology startups. We also have a platform that an entrepreneur anywhere in the world can access and have access to best practice content, mentorship, capital, community of peers, events. And then we work with partners, entrepreneurial support organizations, to power their communities via digital technology. And so we work with governments, corporations, universities, nonprofits, foundations. And on the impact side, we talk about this a lot at our organization, and we were talking about it earlier a little bit, which is talent is uniformly distributed. Anywhere you go in the world, there are smart, motivated, ambitious people wanting to build companies, but access to resources and capital aren't. And so when you don't have access to those things, how do you get access to them? And so with a digital first strategy, you can port in best-in-class tools, access to community ecosystems, learnings, because so much of this is about avoiding common pitfalls or just understanding best practices and how you frame your business, how you talk about it, how you sell it. And so those are all things we have done for a long time. And then we are also excited to be launching a new fund aimed at climate tech, Round Zero Fund. The focus here is investing in early stage deep tech founders at the infancy of their technology that they are building for the betterment of humanity. And so we're really excited about that initiative and kind of bringing it to life.
So you see, we're all looking at the same sort of situation, but from different lenses. So perhaps you could all give some examples of the sort of challenges that your customers or entrepreneurs have and how you provide those solutions to give them a better future. Shall I start again with you, Andreas? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I will give you a story. I met two billionaires in Stockholm that actually spends a lot of money in saving the Baltic Sea. The interesting thing was that they want the same thing, but they didn't know about each other. Because people who operate, who invest money, sometimes they don't want to be out there showing off or showing people that they have money, because there's a bad side of that as well. So that's why they need high trust, where people are vouching for each other, they're accountable for each other. So we're now in our platform, which we actually don't charge for, etc., have a group of people that actually wants the same thing, but they will be there on their own terms. Nobody wants something from them, they just want to help each other. So they have so much power together to make a difference. So everybody's talking about collaboration, and it's super important, meetups like this, etc., wonderful, but we need solutions to get them to work together, and we build those solutions. By the way, we don't charge while we do it. We make money out of other stuff, like events, etc. So it's more of a paid forward, higher purpose driven organization that we built, and now we're coming for Europe. And we need to stop bragging about selling our companies to US or to the East, because Europe is strong and we need to have confidence in doing that. US is amazing, I love US.
Thank you.
But Europe needs to be like confident in terms of we have the talent, we have the capital. This is only a lack of collaboration. So that is what we want to change.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I agree. Europe is lagging behind the States a lot, particularly in AI, and there's been a lot of conversations about that this week. Have you found Davos to be very beneficial in terms of reaching out and finding people and being able to push forward your agenda?
Absolutely, it's the massive interest. So we're launching Davos Angels today because a lot of Europeans are here. Also angels. So we define angels, even if you invest your own money or you have a VC phone. So Seth is also an angel in terms of our definition, but also policymakers, politicians. So we have an amazing crowd coming for the event, and it was fully booked in like 40 hours or so. So the interest is massive because capital, investors love to hang out with each other, right? Nobody's pinching their arms, like joining them for money. They don't want anything. So we don't want anything. We just want the members to actually work together and start a new era for Davos when it comes to angels.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ilgi, you have a big variety in terms of the size of the businesses. You're not just looking at seed, but you also have clients that are much bigger, like UN, for example. Can you perhaps give us some of the challenges that you face there, all your customers, however you want to define them, face, and how do you manage to solve them for you?
Sure. I want to also add before that on your notes, because I think we talked a lot about resources, support, but then one important aspect of it is when we're attracting more and more tech talent, hopefully to the Nordics and Sweden, is the reforms. I think that's something we need to maybe get better at, because when you look at UK, for example, they are creating this fantastic hub for tech talent, and they have certain programs and global entrepreneurship programs, like this fast-track lanes for the talent to come and create their lives there. But I think as Sweden, we can maybe get a little bit better on that. And the other challenges that I see most of the time is the role models, especially in certain industries. So I worked all my life in tech space, and I mean, no offense, but it's usually the role models are male. And I also worked a couple of years ago in the crypto space, and that was even more. So how to break that little bit bro culture and to introduce new type of role models, and that's very important for me. So that's why I choose certain organizations accordingly, and yeah. So I think
you work quite a lot in the Middle East or Afghanistan, the Stans, and so on, and their culture is very different. Do you find that there are different problems? Can you and also, you know, there's quite a lot of poverty there as well. So how do you sort of source your clients and help them to sort of get up to speed with the rest of the world?
Yeah, I think there the main problem is I keep hearing this word a lot, especially this week, women empowerment. I think women over there doesn't need to be empowered. I think the first and foremost, they need space to play. So we need more room for women, and that means we need more possibilities and how to create those possibilities. So that's why I take pride in my work, working with governments and working with powerful enterprises and NGOs, so that we can create the right conditions for women leaders to thrive.
Yeah, we get involved in lots of communities. In Bloomberg, and we've got, you know, women in investment research. We've just got the women in finance, all those sorts of communities too. So do you set those up as well? Do you have various communities? I'm sure Bloomberg would like to be involved.
In Central Asia, are we talking about in the Nordics, or do we have? Do we have communities for women to collaborate? Yes, of course. And I would say, especially in the Nordics, in Sweden, it's a great hub for women entrepreneurs to come and to set up their businesses. And we have one of the funds and accelerators that I worked with is Time to Raise. It was a Microsoft spin-off, and then we grow it even further. Now it's bought by Tech Arena, and and we focused a lot on fundraising skills, because it's one thing to launch your business, it's another thing to know how to reach out to investors and which markets that you should focus on, and how we can also bring the investors into the room. So we work a lot with that. And the other, I think, strong foundation or community is Tech Nordic Advocates, that I was part of the board. And there we also want to scale our effect and to let our entrepreneurs to reach other markets. So we created this global launchpad, meaning if you're a startup registered in our community, and if you want to, let's say, expand your business in UK, we're collaborating with London Stock Exchange. We're collaborating with so many partners over there, so that we can give you the right platform to showcase your business, to reach out to investors, and to
fantastic.
Scale.
Seth, what sort of challenges? I mean, you said obviously that you try and provide them with all these services. So perhaps you can bring out some of the things that have happened recently, or, you know, how is AI affecting how you can perhaps enhance your services?
It's a great question. I know we talked about it a little bit, and we serve both startups and entrepreneurial support organizations. So I'll touch on both of them. Startups, right? Everyone, you know, if you look at a standard technology startup, it probably follows an 80-20 rule, where 80% of the problems are shared by all startups and 20% are unique to the particular industry, vertical, what they're trying to accomplish. And right, that 80% is fundraising, selling faster, smarter, more, building a product and hiring, and that's universal across the board, and everything else is in the 20%. And so we try to help as much as we can in that 80%. Obviously we invest, we have a great mentor network, access to community of peers, all the things we talked about. Switching gears to the entrepreneurial support organization, I know that term might not be familiar to everyone, but it's a government that is looking to really build an innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem to diversify their economies. It's a corporate partner who's running internal or external innovation aimed at identifying market competitors that they could invest in or partner with or work with. It's a university who's trying to get their IP out and commercialize that and building the ecosystem to support it. It's a foundation aimed at empowering any range of economic development to underserved communities to bring up through innovation and entrepreneurship. And so where these worlds overlap is, to get to the AI question, is how do you think about this at scale? If you're a government or a region or a local organization and you want to deliver entrepreneurial resources for thousands of people or create a hub that anyone can access and have access to best practices, content, community, right? The way you're thinking about it for investors, we're thinking about it for startups. How do you create a hub anyone can come into and engage and see all of the resources of a region and area? And this is where AI is really your friend, right? And so instead of managing a giant mentor network of hundreds of mentors that thousands of people could book meetings with, you can now have an always-on AI mentor that can answer those 80% of questions and save the in-person or virtual mentoring for that kind of 20%. And then you don't need as much, and again, AI is always on and always there for you. So that's just a little bit about how we think about kind of both sides of that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Sort of perhaps taking that a step further, all of you have sort of mentioned there's lots of people who really like these services. So how do you sort of choose how to allocate your resources effectively amongst your clients? You know, who do you want to take on? Or, I mean, for you, you know, you're networking, you're finding communities. I'm sure it's not all the chance. I'm sure you have a process there that sort of says, actually, we should do this and go out and look for them. Please explain, you know, to the audience how you go about that.
I mean, every entrepreneur is, like, it's always a matter of prioritization of what they should put their time and effort in making. And if you do things like these guys and we do for good, a lot of the things that we do are for good and pay it forward and are higher purpose driven. I mean, that's, you have to build that plane while you fly it, right? Because you can also, I mean, if you, so for our sake, we do a lot of things for free. You know, we do the report State of European Angels, where we actually highlight all the private capital in Europe to showcase the meaning of angels, private investors in this ecosystem. We can talk about Series C, D funding. If we don't do the early tickets in some kind of verticals, there will never be, you know, there will not be the right inventions. So it's always a matter of prioritization as an entrepreneur. So then I think that we're politically unbound, we're independent, we will just be a voice for those who actually have the power to make a difference. Individual, investors, they have like maybe a portfolio of 20, 30, 40, 50 companies, so they meet these entrepreneurs all day and can listen to them and drive policy. So we can be a voice in media and against politicians in terms of what the investors actually see from their entrepreneur. And that, in that way, we can actually make a real difference.
Really cool. Ilgi, how about with you? What sort of process do you have? I mean, I know you've got some set clients already, but how do you sort of allocate your time?
I usually work with VCs or investor syndicates for their portfolio companies. And but if I go out, and which is not very usual, and directly get in touch with a startup and decide to work with them, there needs to be definitely an impact factor. So what are they doing? What are they trying to solve in the world? And if I can get up every day and excited about, okay, you know what, I'm helping this startup to achieve certain goals. And up until this date, I guess I work with 20 plus startups from POC to all the way to scale stage. And this just something gives me so much excitement that you're creating something for the world. And to be honest, they are doing the hard work. You're just the behind the scenes kick and trying to provide them what they need.
Can you give us an example of one that you're really excited about at the moment?
There are a couple of them. So Scale Up was a Berlin-based company called Journey, and they are an AI and immersive web company, and they are trying to help out the brands to basically create more engaging, exciting, better touch points with their clients, and one way to do that is to use the technology and to be very innovative, of course, with your approaches. So we did BMW, for example, Joytopia project, and we worked with H&M and create this digital fashion lab, because it's all about, when it comes to fashion space, sustainability and how we can really set the right stories out there, and how we can help brands that are doing it. And so yeah, I can continue with examples if you want, but there are also some, maybe from Sweden, I should give one example. It's a company working with supply chain traceability, Lingon, and what they are doing is also fantastic. So how can we create more awareness on how this, let's say, furniture is produced, where it's produced, and are we following ethical processes? And now in Europe, because of the EU Green Deal, it will be a requirement if you would like to, let's say, trade with European countries. You need to have that, let's say, product passport showcasing the how it's produced, basically. So yeah, different areas from climate tech to all the way to ed tech, I would say.
That's fantastic. I have to say, as an analyst, I can sit and listen to what companies do all day. I absolutely love it. So I'll try not to get too distracted. But yeah, really, really great ideas. And supply chain, as we all know, with tariffs and Trump, are going to become really important, because it's not just where the company's domiciled, it's where they get everything made and imported from. Seth, tell me about your process, how you manage to efficiently allocate your resources as well. You've touched on it a bit already, but examples are good.
I guess I would start by just answering the question. This is a great PSA, or just kind of baseline principle for evaluating companies, and we call it the 4 Ps. And so any company we look at, or a startup we look at, to determine if we want to invest in, and again, there is no criteria on the digital side of our business. We want to support and provide resources for everyone. And so this is distinctly how we look at companies that we want to invest in, and it's the 4 Ps. And so if anyone ever comes to you and wants investment or looking at, certainly feel free to use it. But we evaluate based on product, people, potential, and predictability, which covers your broad categories, but is a good simple way to look at a business. And having seen now probably thousands of startups, for me, it's less about the idea. This might be an American analogy, so apologies if this falls flat, but I truly think there are no bad ideas. Somebody in the States once upon a time invented the pet rock and sold that and made millions of dollars, and it was a rock that they drew on. And so, right, it's less about the idea and more about what's your conviction, what's your ability to really kind of bring this into the world, as opposed to what it is you're doing, which I may or may not understand.
Yeah, commercialization was always something small companies need help with, and that's really good. So my next question is, so what does success look like for you? When do you feel we've done something good? Would you like to start, Andrea?
Wow.
Today we're going to do something great, so maybe.
No, I think that, of course, as an entrepreneur or an investor, I've been investing for 15 years, supporting others, and it's amazing to see people succeed in what they do, and you help them in the way, and you made a buck or two. That's amazing, But in terms of what we do, I really want to be super clear about. There's approximately 6 million angels in Europe. 6 million. We include board members, advisors, policymakers, venture capitalists, private equity firms. These people running these businesses, right? So we call them angels as well. So we want to actually give them platforms so they can collaborate better. everybody will win. Europe will win for that. So as an entrepreneur today, if you go to the incubator or accelerator at your university and say like, "Hi, I have this cure for a disease. I want to commercialize it." Then they say like, "We can help you with everything except capital." But I need capital. Where can I go? You go to the banks. And they go to the banks and ask for capital. They're like, "We'll help you with everything except capital. When you cash flow positive, come back." So where should I go? You should go to the angels. Who are they? We don't know. But there will be a lot of people who would love to invest in that company, or in your fund, or in these amazing initiatives that Ilgi is running. But there's a glitch, and that glitch will be solved through the investors who actually cares. So angels use their network, they're opening doors, they have a lot of knowledge that they can actually bring more to the table than just capital. And we all know this in our lives, you know, you get an advice sometimes that actually made the difference.
It certainly does. I mean,
So that is success.
Yeah, yeah.
When we solve that.
Yeah, private capital. I mean, the problem has always been that smaller companies come with a much higher risk tolerance if you're going to invest in them, because some fail, some thrive. Right? So how do you sort of square that circle to enable the startups to be able to get access to private capital when, you know, it's not in public markets, it's not obvious?
Yeah. So I've done 20 plus direct investments in companies. One of them I took on a pitch day. The rest I took from other investors who actually came with a deal to me. So investors share deal flow between one another.
Yeah.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to raise capital, I usually give the advice to like go to, you know, a rich aunt or something in the beginning. Someone who believes in you. You don't have to go to like meet every VC in town. You just need some starting capital to prove a thesis. And then they probably know another rich person or a rich guy or have a network. So it goes through the angels and the investors most of the times.
Cool. Ilgi, what's success for you?
For me, exactly on that point, how can I then support these type of platforms? How can I then introduce other funds around Europe to support us and what we're doing here? Or great startups, great minds that needs to be heard and seen. So that's where I feel that I'm successful. If I can succeed in being this, let's say, maybe beneficial spider in the web, then I feel good about what I'm doing. And when it comes to the private capital, so when I was running the innovation labs or startup programs for different companies, so we talk a lot about entrepreneurship today, but there are, of course, entrepreneurs there. And I think it is so important to take responsibility of your role, especially if you're an innovation leader, working with large corporations, and in a way innovate responsibly. And what I mean is, when I was working at Pernod Ricard, I could have just come up with the best beer app or to let people drink more maybe, but our intention was not that. So instead we focused on what's the most sustainable packaging idea. Where can we find it? Should we develop it ourselves? No. Let's go out in the market and ask the rethinkers, great entrepreneurs, on how they can help us. And that's how we first, for example, launched our Startup Hub program. So I think it is important to involve the private sector as well. And there are great examples like Combient Foundry, started in Finland, so facilitating these type of large enterprises, startups, and institutes, and how they should collaborate. So I'm happy to continue to do that and be that spider, I would say.
Wonderful. Seth, what's success?
So there's the obvious return-based and investment side of this, and for this question, I would like to talk about the answer to it for our new fund that we just launched. So this Round Zero fund, which as mentioned is aimed at investing in early stage deep tech founders who are building technologies for the betterment of humanity and society. And so, right, these the stat we throw around is 75% of the technologies to reach our mid-century net zero goals are in their infancies or haven't been created yet. And so there is a wave of technology that needs to come to market to help us all. And success here is about impact, is about decarbonization, food security, water security, energy, climate. And so is a dual impact and really has that betterment for everyone as well as a potential financial return.
Thanks for touching on that too, on the environmental thing. I know it's not really in vogue with Trump, but I actually am a great supporter of ESG, certainly diversity and inclusion. Are there measures in place with the three of you, I mean, obviously you've mentioned it already, Ilgi, to sort of try and bring forward underrepresented groups in terms of people as well, not just necessarily, I mean, obviously the environmental side I'm wholly on board with as well. Perhaps you'd like to answer that first, Seth. I'll change the order.
Yeah, and this is something we've thought lots about, and we have always felt we're uniquely positioned by having this pool of aggregated resources that are relevant, and so we've done things in the past, running scholarship programs for underrepresented founders and providing access to all of our resources and technologies for free. We partner with organizations who are specifically running programming for underrepresented founders. We truly believe it needs to be a more even playing field and that everyone needs represented. And the conversation that you brought up earlier about a rich aunt or a rich uncle, not everyone's fortunate to have that, right? And ideas in their infancy are so fragile, and if you don't have that friends and family to help you, it might never take off, and that could have been a world-changing idea. And so we think a lot about how we can come down and meet those entrepreneurs where they are.
That sounds really cool. Andreas, any comments?
Can we just specify the question again?
Is there part of your mission to help the environment, social and governance issues? So, either underrepresented groups from people, or obviously, net zero carbon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're not driving our own agenda of what the investors should invest, our members what they should invest in. There are people who care a lot about this, and some care less about it. Some people care a lot about equality questions, etc. So we can just help them to be stronger together. So of course, a lot of people spend their own money or invest other money. They want to do good at the same time as they actually make some kind of ROI. So I mean, we most definitely, the whole concept of Nordic Angels, European Angels, and Davos Angels is actually to, it's an impact initiative. So 100% aligned with that.
Ilgi, do you want to answer the environment side of that? You've already answered, I think, the underrepresented groups.
So environment side of can you please repeat the question?
Sorry.
Like what?
Are there, do you have sort of set guidelines within your mission to help the environment?
I think to be very specific, if as we talked about, like if you're working within a, let's say, large enterprise and in certain roles, you have automatically this responsibility to prioritize carefully what you do and what you don't do. And I think if we give example from, let's say, Absolut brand, it's a well-known, let's say, vodka brand. But then we did work a lot in Africa, and we did work a lot with water cleansing technologies and how to help people when they take the, let's say, the dirty water and to clean it by using these technologies. So that's, I think, very important to focus on, undertaking projects with the greater good purpose. Other than that, I guess you guys responded to that question very well, so I don't have much also to add. Do you want to?
I would say there's few people like Ilgi. She's like, I mean, she helps so many organizations in so many ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say.
So
I didn't pay anything for that. So.
No, actually, I was going to ask. I mean,
Superstar.
what's inspired you most about what you're other panelists have said here. Just a quick one thing that you think you'll take away from this panel that you think is good. And while you're thinking about that, the other thing is perhaps you could also think of one piece of advice you can give people in the audience if they're either investors or they're from seed companies. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, and this is something we believe in, and it's so great to hear, and especially in kind of an international environment, which is just rising tides raise all boats, right? And it's not, hey, I'm trying to carve out my particular area. It is, hey, the more players and people involved in this, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah, I would say in Davos, I met so many amazing people who want to do good things for everybody else. It's like, and hopefully a lot of them have the actually power to do so. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really good arena to actually make things happen.
And I also am actually fascinated by this hub. It's really a great hub for to bringing impact together. Like you meet with someone who could help the startup maybe you're working with. It's just fantastic place to find the right people who can support you and your mission. So I will definitely continue to come to Davos. Yeah. Why didn't I think about it before?
And the advice to us, I mean, it's more of like hook arm, help each other, support each other, lift each other, like set egos aside and just, collaborate.
Fabulous panelists here. Thank you very much indeed.